gonna keep it low now. If you wanna go, let's go. Let's wrap it up and hit the road. I just got an awesome vibe, striking the winner post now. Liberty's on my mind. We've taken off, we've left the ground. You gotta understand that we get one chance, one chance.
Hi there, welcome back.
Hi there.
We thought we'd have a little bit of a review chat with you, talk about our videos before they go up, talk with you about the trip, sort of questions that we've been asked, and kind of more topical things like...
Yeah, and not touch on anything too detailed, is it? Just a summary.
Yeah, talk about travel, weather, busyness of parks, Genie Plus,
Where we stayed,
dining reservations, yeah, all the kind of thing that we've been asked about quite a lot, and the kind of topical things.
Yeah, we will cover in more detail in later vlogs, but just thought it'd be nice just to cover a few of the points now, kind of thing, almost as a bit of a summary.
Yeah.
Our thoughts. We've just come back. Yeah, we kind of like doing that. We did that in Paris, didn't we? We did a review of the room after we stayed in it, so
yeah,
like a bit of our thoughts kind of immediately after we come back.
And then if you've got any questions, you can ask as well,
yeah,
which might help you out as well. The other thing I was going to say was I did a video with just like information about our trip before we went, but we did actually end up changing just before we went. So just a bit of a summary. We were gone for 10 days.
Yep.
We stayed in 3 lots of accommodation. We had a night at Bay Lake Tower, and then 6 nights at Old Key West, and then we changed, didn't we?
Yes, we were due to have 7 at Old Key West and then 2 at Saratoga.
Yeah.
But just before we came out on holiday, we saw there were 3 nights available at Beach Club. So we shortened the Old Key West by day and put 3 days of Beach Club. So it was a bit of a change.
And we also changed some of our dining reservations. We knocked off Homecoming because Ohana became available.
Yep.
So we went there, and that's always been a favourite of ours. What was the other one we changed? We added a Via Napoli.
Yes.
And then we also did Steakhouse 71 and Space 220, didn't we? I think that was it.
Wasn't it?
I think so.
You said Via Napoli, didn't you?
Yeah.
We did Ohana's.
Yeah, I think that's it.
We did some quick serve. We'll chat about that in a moment. So should we
Yeah.
first of all talk about our travel?
Yes.
Just as a real
we're trying to
high
do them
level, in order, trying to think kind of almost chronological as it started. So
one word to describe travel day, apart from long.
Well, day before we had.
No, I was just going to say easy.
Oh, yeah, easy.
I think that's the question for everybody. You just think it's going to be stressful, hard work.
Even in normal times.
Yeah, it was easy, but the key to that is being prepared and organised.
Yeah, I mean, we flew with Virgin, so it could be different with other airlines, but they have something that's called Fly Ready. And we actually got text before, literally I think it was about a week before, and then we got them sent again about what to do. And it was really, if you followed it, it was really quite straightforward. We did that before checking in, and in actual fact it had little Fly Ready on our boarding passes or boarding cards. Now, I did mine purely online. I did mine on my phone. You did yours, shall we say, old school, well, on the computer, and you printed yours off, didn't you?
But mine was still Fly Ready.
Exactly the same. So whichever way you do, just be prepared. But the actual whole thing was so straightforward.
There were 2 queues when you got to check in. Those that hadn't done Fly Ready, there was a big queue for those.
Yep.
Those like us that had, we went straight to check in and were
almost like bag drop, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was literally bag drop, and we just had to show the agent at the front that we were Fly Ready. He wanted to see confirmation, and he let us go through. It was that easy. There was nobody waiting at check-in, so we could go straight to check-in. But we had everything printed as well, so you have everything on your phone and everything else printed just in case.
Now with the Fly Ready with Virgin, I'm sure that is only for over 18s.
Ah, okay.
Or there is an age. If I'm wrong with the age, please correct me. Obviously it doesn't
let us know,
refer
leave a
to
comment.
us. I think if you're travelling with children, I'm not sure. I could have got the age wrong, so don't quote me on that. Some you can't do Fly Ready with, I believe.
Okay,
so
they have to
just check that. I'm sure you'll be told if you're travelling with a family or children. So
there was no queues through security. We were so lucky.
The fastest way to go through.
And I know that we have seen vlogs where there's been big queues. We were travelling from Heathrow to Orlando MCO, And then coming back was exactly the same. You can't do the fly ready going out, but we had everything ready, didn't we? We were checked in ahead of time. We checked in on our phones. We had everything printed, and all we had to do was to show the passenger locator form that we'd completed it with the reference number. On the way out, again, there's a check-in agent before you get to check in. There was a queue of people that hadn't done it, were trying to do it at the airport. We showed him our reference.
It was the QR code, in actual fact, so we had the QR code.
Went straight through to check-in. Again, there was nobody waiting, so we checked in. It was that easy. Go prepared. As long as you do everything ahead of time, you'll be fine.
It will save you time. I think when you do get those longer times is when, you are having to have all your documentation checked. I think there and then. So preparation is key on that one. Security
at Orlando is the shortest I'd ever seen it.
Yeah.
The only delay for us was because they were trying to scan somebody's passport in front of us, and it was on their phone, and it wasn't scanning. And that was the only delay.
No real issue. So it was, should we say, a breeze almost went through. So it's probably the easiest we've actually done.
The flight, however, was, and if you've travelled out recently, you'll know, 10 hours going to Orlando.
I know.
Please tell us why.
It must be a different route.
But coming back was 7.5.
I know, well, they more or less came the direct way back. It's a different route, but
it took so long.
But for 2 hours, but also why are they doing a different route is my question.
We want to know. Please tell us.
I'm just curious. So.
It just felt forever. It felt a really, really long. It was easy, no turbulence or anything.
It was a nice flight. It just
lovely staff.
It just felt almost like we're not even halfway yet, and you think even halfway, you thought we'd almost be there. Kind of by now.
Yeah, it felt really long, but apart from that,
no, it was an enjoyable flight. Yeah, so. I think travel-wise, that kind of covers it in a brief nutshell, isn't it, really? Yeah.
Car hire was easy. We picked up with Alamo, and then we just drove to Bay Lake Tower.
Yeah, Bay Lake Tower, yeah. Yeah, now, we were staying on site at Disney. We were staying at 3 different resorts, and this covers each of the resorts here. One thing that we really, really did like this time, it was, I believe, started to be introduced last time a couple of years ago when we went.
But that was with American phone numbers.
Was it American phone numbers?
Yeah, that's why we didn't have it.
And it's the ability to be able to just like unlock your own door, check in with your Magic Band with your phone. So you can get text, I think you can get emailed, but also if you check the app as well, it'll tell you when your room is ready.
The My Disney Experience app.
The My Disney Experience app, sorry, yeah. But the great thing is, we just went to our room. How many times have you gone to a hotel, had to wait in the lobby because it's check-in time and there's a huge queue? And this just meant we knew our room number, we knew where to go, and that was it.
It was really easy.
It was really easy. And that was the same in all 3 resorts. Last one, Beach Club, we had to go because it was a little bit delayed.
Yeah,
but
it was
in
like
general,
check-ins from 4, and it was like getting on for like half past 4. We hadn't heard, so there was a bit of a problem with that.
Yeah, but generally the whole idea of it really saved us time in the other resorts, especially Old Key West, where
we got to come up early.
And you're not actually staying Old Key West and some of the other resorts. You're not actually staying by the lobby, so of course you would normally have to try and find somewhere to park or go to check in. And then, so yeah, I think that was really, really good. I think another thing to talk about in regards to the accommodation was the luggage. I was just going to mention. Did you want to talk about that?
No, that's fine. You go ahead.
We'd seen before on others' vlogs or stories, I think we saw on Napa Ever Afters, that they were staying and they had used resort hopping, so they'd used like Bell Services to come pick their luggage up. And we thought, I wasn't sure if they were doing it. Obviously they were, because we'd just seen it a couple of weeks before. So in one of our stays we thought, well, we may as well use it. It saves us taking our stuff. So there we were, Old Key West, ready to check out. We didn't have it come to pick up from our room, which you can do.
You can do, but we didn't think about it till that morning.
No.
And it was like, I think 9:30, and they wouldn't have been able to get somebody out to us till 10:30, and we wanted to have been gone before then. So if you know in advance,
just
call them
up and you can book a time, yeah.
Just Bell Services on your phone when you're in the Disney resort, phone in your room.
But you have to be there for them to pick your luggage up.
Yes.
You can't just leave it and, right, we're going to go and take whatever's there. So
they don't transfer fresh goods though, so if you've got food in your fridge or milk or anything, they don't transfer that.
But we went down to Bell Services outside of the resort and took our name, which was written down incorrectly. and then there was a C in it, and then there was another
K
letter.
went into
a K,
it.
that's it, and then it was kind of crossed out. It wasn't rewritten.
It was a really little old man,
And
bless him.
it was just put on the label, was put on one case, and we had 4 cases. And there's me thinking, that's on one, and there's a load of others.
But he was like, oh, it's fine, it's fine.
It's fine. And there was a couple of girls before us had some done, and they'd got even like carrier bags, and they just had one done as well. And I thought, are we actually going to see our luggage again?
I was saying goodbye, thinking I'm never going to see them again.
No, exactly. And you think, well, you said to me, we've got to have faith.
Got to have trust.
And things like that. And yeah, when we picked up a beach club, it was all there, and each had been individually labelled. So
Correctly.
Correctly as well. So it was all fine. But that really made it easier going from resort to resort.
But you do it from bellhop to, or bell services to bell services. So
it doesn't get to your room.
They don't get left in your room. You then collect them at bell services in the lobby of your next hotel.
Or the interesting thing will be, if it does pick up from the room, which they can do, do they then take it to your room, or does it just go to bell services?
I would have thought bell services.
I don't know. If anyone's used it before, let us know.
Let us know.
Let us know. It'd be interesting to know.
So we stayed in, and if you've seen on Instagram stories, you'd have known we stayed in some really, really nice places. The first being the 3-bedroom grand villa in Bay Lake Tower.
With the theme park view.
It's 2 stories. At the top, you know, next to the Contemporary, the like pyramid-y, triangle-y one that the monorail goes through, it's the tower next to that. And it's the top 2 levels. So we had 2 levels.
Floor 14 and 15, basically.
Looking out over Magic Kingdom. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And we had our friends stay. We invited Lee and Nick to stay from the Lodge guys. And they were there to welcome us. It was so sweet. You'll see this in the video, on our travel day video. We're driving up. We'd been in contact with them the whole time. We're driving up to Bay Lake Tower. We're looking up there, wondering if one of them is our room. We couldn't see anything. It's all dark. Aid starts flashing his lights, and Lee and Nick start flashing as well.
Phone as well.
It was so cool. But we arrived, and they were there with Prosecco and strawberries and donuts.
Yeah.
It was so nice. I can't wait to share the videos with you. But we had so much fun. So those are coming up. But I've seen comments from people saying, oh my God, they must be rich and things like that. And I just wanted to clarify that we had 2 years worth of DVC points that had been rolled over.
Yeah.
That expire the end of Jan. We had to use them, otherwise they were going to be not used, just
Well, we'd have
wasted.
lost them.
Yeah. So we had the week at Old Key West with our friends, the extra couple of nights which we added on at the end, and then we'd changed our flights and we had one night
to find accommodation.
And we had so many points still to use, and then this night this was the only room left, and it was almost like the perfect amount of points.
It was spot
that we
on
had
the
left.
amount we had to use.
And we're like, oh my gosh, it's meant to be. There is no way. What was it we were told? Is it if you were to pay for that room in money?
Well, that one night was 3,500. That night that we stayed, that actual night
and
in
it's
January.
the cheapest time to stay.
Yes,
January.
cheapest time to stay in January.
$3,500, wasn't it?
For one night there. So
there's no way, but that's more than the accommodation we'd ever spend. There's no way, but we had the points sitting there. They were going to go to waste, so.
And sharing it with friends.
I was just going to
was
say,
a really
even
lovely thing to do
better.
as well. So
that will never happen again, I'm sure.
No,
Unless
again,
there's another pandemic and we can't use points.
We'll cover more about the room and maybe room tours, reviews and things like that. So
well, we're hoping that we can use some of Lee and Nick's videos for the room tours. They got the majority. We said to them, go and check in, because our flight was,
it was later.
Yeah, it was 2 hours later. So by the time we got there, it was, what, nearly 7-ish? So we said to them, check in early, enjoy the resort. They got the sunrise, didn't they? And by the time we got there, we ended up...
Sunset.
Yeah, the sunset.
Yeah.
By the time we got there, we were all just all a bit excited, really. So they've got the best videos. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to use some of those for a bit of a room tour.
We'll be able to.
But no, it was brilliant. It was such a fun start to our trip, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we will be doing room reviews, room and hopefully resort reviews as well in our vlogs. So more will come on that as well. So this is literally only just touching on that.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, moving on, unless there's anything else for Bay Lake that you wanted to mention.
West.
Old Key West. Now, we'd never stayed at Old Key West. We visited, as in we'd had a look around.
We'd even done a room tour.
Room tour. We actually even went over there specifically to go and look at like one of the 2-bed places. This was before the refurb. They have been refurbed. I think, are they all done now?
I don't know. They're nice though.
We went in there, we stayed in a 2-bed, we were staying with our friends again. and we each obviously had a room each. 2 bathrooms, so just a nice kind of
big patio
area. And the Old Key West was the original DVC resort,
1991,
and it is also, I believe, it's, when I say biggest, what I mean by that is the rooms
are more generous.
In size wise, the rooms are the bigger rooms. So even if you go to a studio there, it's going to be larger than a studio maybe at some of the newer locations.
We've always felt a bit nonplussed about the resort. It wasn't really, it wouldn't have been one of ours to choose, but the fact that it's quite low on points meant that we could share it with our friends, and there was also the availability. It was available. And available
the whole time as well. So we kind of, it was a choice to go for. It ticked all the boxes for what we needed.
But if I'm honest, I wasn't excited about staying there.
No, and also just to let you know, in regards to those who are kind of interested, we stayed previously on our first DVC trip in Bay Lake in a 1 bed, and that cost more points for 7 nights, almost double the points than what it did do in the 2 bed at Old Key West.
Yeah, just a comparison.
Now I know it's different times of years, but just a comparison, that meant
they were both the cheapest actually, because the other one was September. That's actually the week we were at Bay Lake was cheaper in points than.
So we almost it was almost half the amount of points it would do to stay in a 1 bed at Bay Lake, just to give you an idea. And
we had a 2 bed in Old Key West. I have to say, Old Key West completely exceeded our expectations.
We were sold on it, yeah.
We have completely fallen in love, and in fact, we have a trip coming up, a family trip in June, and we've just swapped our last 3 nights of the trip from Kidani to Old Key West. We really want to go back again.
Do you want to talk about Kidani?
No, not really.
Okay.
Well, no, I've got no reason to. We'll cover it in the videos.
Okay.
We loved Old Key West. We felt, it sounds strange, we felt like we were on holiday. Not just a Disney holiday, we felt like we'd escaped from everything. We were so relaxed. We did have a villa by Hospitality House, which is by the lobby, so we were perfect location for everything. We loved it, completely fell in love, but we'll talk more about that in the vlogs.
Yeah, no, it was lovely. It really had a real holiday feel. It actually reminded us of where we stayed at Bahama Bay.
Years ago. If you used to follow our vlogs.
Yeah, so
I have another channel, by the way, if you haven't seen, where I used to post our holiday vlogs, and I did that from 2017, so I'll link those down below for you.
But no, we absolutely fell in love with Old Key West. It was just lovely. I mean, we even got to use the pool, didn't we, on the one day that it was really nice and warm.
We had a couple of warm days.
That
takes us on to the weather. Should we discuss the weather?
Yeah, we didn't talk about Beach Club, but we'll
we've got no reason to.
No,
Beach Club was it was nice. No complaints or anything. Weather. A question we've been asked a lot from those following our stories: would you go back in January again? Now, the only reason that we really went back, we went in January this time, was to use up points. We booked it about 11 months previous, didn't we?
Yeah, we booked it so we knew we had to use them by then.
Yeah.
We just hoped that travel would have opened, which it did, so yeah.
Would you go back in January again?
Do you know, that's a real tricky question. I missed the warm weather. I think a couple of times, I think we spoke about this, and we said that although when it's warm, we moan about it. Well, not moan. It is
when
really,
it's feels like 40 degrees.
When it's hot, you need those aircon breaks. You need to keep drinking, and it can be hard going. But I think I prefer that over the cold that we had, even for that short amount of time.
We had to de-ice the car one morning to go to Magic Kingdom.
We were wearing our winter coats.
It was we had ground frost. It was that cold.
Yeah, it was, and even during the day, some of the days it didn't get over sort of 10 degrees.
No. And one night we left Epcot. We were going to stay for, I keep wanting to call it hallucinations.
Harmonious.
Hallucinations, that's a bit of a illumination.
Illuminations.
Happily ever after, yeah. We left 2 hours beforehand. We were too cold. It was really cold.
Yeah, so would I go again? I would. Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. It had an impact.
It did. The
last 3 days.
It did change our trip. It did kind of. I mean, we've been to Florida when it's rained. This was just thinking about it.
We went in February half term 2010, and we had frost then as well. It was really, really cold.
It did start warming up towards the latter part of the trip, didn't it? On that one, that was unusually cold. It can be cold out there. I think this was unusually cold. But I think because there is some...
It's even colder there at the moment.
It is, yeah, some unpredictability. I think if you're prepared for it to be cold, yeah, go for it. Because generally, and this brings on to my second point of the reason why I don't know if I would rush. January's always been quite a quiet time. We've even spoke to family, actually, didn't we, in the hot tub, that were actually from the...
Not our family.
Not our family. They were family from the States. And they come down, basically, I think they're from somewhere where they have real cold winters. And they generally come down every January. So they know what it's normally like. And they said this was not only the coldest in Florida that they've experienced, but also it was the busiest year they'd experienced. True. So this brings me on to the other part.
I wanted to still cover the weather, actually.
Oh, okay. Just touch on the weather. All I was going to
say, before you get onto busy...
Sorry, yeah.
Before you get onto busy, I just wanted to say, with regards to weather, go prepared. So many people that we saw hadn't gone prepared. Check your extended weather app. Go onto a weather app and check your 10-day forecast, which is what we did. We knew it was going to get cold. I had tights. I had layers, I had vest tops, lots of t-shirts, long sleeves, sweatshirts. We took winter coats, didn't we?
Yeah.
You even had a hat with you.
Yeah, which I could wear.
Scarves, which I could then wear in the evening, and that really helped. The only time that, like I said, when we left Epcot early, we hadn't actually taken our coats with us that evening. We just had sweatshirts. Go prepared, and it does make life a lot easier. Yes,
I mean, part of me feels yes I would. But part of me feels, no, I wouldn't. I'd much rather go when I know it's going to be warmer.
It's things like when it's really busy and you just want to sit on a bench with your coffee, but it feels too cold. It's that kind of thing. It did take the edge.
Get a coffee because the queue's so long.
Right, that takes you to busyness. Go on, you talk about busy parks.
Busy parks, the busiest we've seen the parks.
Ever.
Now, that's not just the one time we were in Magic Kingdom that seemed absolutely crazy. It was shown on touring plans as was it a 9 or a 10?
Something like that.
No,
not a 10. I think it was like an 8 or a 9.
9. Now, it was our last full day, so we knew we were going to do Magic Kingdom anyway. But it just was busy. The queues for things. Seven Dwarfs was round past Ariel. The Gaston's...
The other thing, I was going to say, something I've noticed because the queue rides were high... rides aren't being filled to capacity at the moment, which we totally get. So we went
that wouldn't affect Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, would it?
Well, it might have done because you're not getting the single riders filling things up.
I guess so.
Things like going on Frozen, they would, or like It's a Small World, they would ram you all on, so you'd have other people sat with you. Now it's just your party, so it would just be the two of us, for example.
Yep.
You're not getting the single riders fill up. What was the other one we noticed? I can't remember, there was other rides as well where we noticed that usually you would all be crammed on.
I think it was mainly the ones you go on, like Living on the Land.
Yeah, Living on the Land,
we didn't do Pirates. Did we do Pirates?
Yeah, we did.
It was those kinds of A Small World, that type of thing.
So you kind of think that usually they fill as many people in as possible.
But saying that, the queue rides were still long for...
We're glad. We're not complaining about that.
Oh,
because
no.
I wouldn't want somebody sat right close to me, so I'm not moaning about that at all.
But
I'd rather the queue.
But generally the park was busy because even take that to one side, the queue for queuing up for a Gaston Cinnamon Bun. Now, we've been to that part of the park...
Every single trip. It's one of our favourite places.
And we generally go there in the morning. We don't rush there first thing. So we pretty much did the same thing, and the queue, when we got there, wasn't too bad, but we still waited, 20 minutes? But then by the time you were queuing, there was, maybe 30, 40 people queuing up to get their cinnamon bun. And I think even other things, like Joffrey's coffee stands, not just in Magic Kingdom, in Epcot. There were massive queues. It just seemed to be, we haven't seen that, and we've been to the parks at different times of the year. So just even queuing up to get a simple coffee would take you possibly 20 minutes.
The other thing as well that I was going to say, because you haven't got the extra magic hours at the moment, so I wanted to touch on that. The parks are open half an hour extra in the morning for resort guests, and you get to all go in, and then they tap your magic band just after you've got in to make sure that you are resort guests. This was okay, but half an hour isn't really long enough. We missed the hour that it used to be. I think sometimes if you got there just before 8:30, for example, by the time you then got through, it was like almost 9:15, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I just wonder, was it more of a ploy that it's kind of staggering people coming in? So although people are seen to get in half an hour,
It didn't really make any difference.
it didn't really make a huge amount of difference. So
No.
although it was okay, and that was something that I think if we would make use of. But no, the general business of the park was something that, yeah.
I also just wanted to mention that if you're staying in a deluxe Disney resort, you also get the occasional extra hours in the evening. It's like evening extended hours or something. I'll leave a link to it down below. It's not every evening. I think there were 3 evenings in total during our 10-day stay. It's not like it's structured and is on every Monday or something like that, and they only seem to be in Magic Kingdom and Epcot, but they stay open for an extra 2 hours. We did one whilst we were staying in Magic Kingdom and one in Epcot. They need to scan every single Magic Band
On every ride.
when you go through.
Yeah.
So although you could we'll still wander around because there weren't really any food places open, it didn't seem.
I did notice that the food places had actually started closing.
Yeah.
Pretty much when the normal park closed.
Yeah.
Time closed. It was just the rides that stayed open.
And it's not every single ride either.
No.
But it really made a difference, didn't it?
Yeah.
Saying that, we did get a portion of chips in Epcot the other night because that was still open.
Oh, we did. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that? It must have been about 10:30, wasn't it?
Something
Yeah.
like that.
So,
but
yeah,
it was
some
nice.
places
It
are
was
open,
nice
yeah.
to see a quiet park. It was showing 30 minutes on Space Mountain in Magic Kingdom. We got there was no queue
walk
at
on.
all. So yeah, it is a good way to do it. I'll leave a link. They don't seem to be really advertising it. Like, you know, when you have the Disney TV in your rooms and it's got the park hours for the following day, it doesn't mention the extended hours.
No.
Even though you're staying in a deluxe resort. So I will leave the link to those hours so you can go and check for yourself. Talking about busyness, shall we just briefly mention Genie Plus?
Yeah, we'll mention Genie Plus. We will do a video on Genie Plus and our experience of how we experienced it and what we thought. Go on, you start.
We weren't impressed. We haven't actually really spoken to anyone else that's been impressed. We tried to use it on the really, really busy day in Magic Kingdom and it was a waste of money for us.
And also by doing it on a busy day, because some people say, oh, it's a busy day. I think, well, some ways you should be able to use it any day.
Yeah.
So I think
the other thing is as well, if you're staying on site, you can start booking your rides at 7 o'clock in the morning. If you're not on site, it's when parks open.
Yep.
So we did ours at like 7 o'clock in the morning. We paid $15 each. You then get to the park. You don't know that it's going to be rammed at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
And by which time you've already paid for it. So we ended up riding 2 rides, neither of which we were fussed with. Speedway and Aladdin's Carpet. And then we gave up and left.
I think when we did book, we could have got something like Big Thunder or something, but that was already at
About 2 o'clock or
it was
something.
1 or 2 o'clock. And the way that it seems to work is before being able to book the next one, you've either got to tap in or activate it. You can then book your next one, or you have to wait 2 hours, isn't it? I think so. We could have maybe done that 2 p.m. one, but it meant we wouldn't have been able to do anything for like the first 2 hours, apart from if you wanted to queue up. So we thought, right, well, let's use it as it's intended.
So we booked an early one for Speedway.
Booked one for Speedway. Okay, not been on it for a while, wouldn't be our choice. Yeah, it was fun, but maybe we wouldn't have chosen to do a fast pass on that. Then the next one really that was kind of available at a reasonable time was Aladdin's Carpet. Again, okay, it's normally the type of ride we'll go on if there's no queue. Again, wouldn't get a fast pass for it normally. But by this time, that was 11 o'clock, I think the likes of Big Thunder, and I'm using that as an example, but all were pretty much the same, was at least 4:30 by then, and that was sort of 11 o'clock. Now,
I think Mine Train was about 7, wasn't it?
oh yeah, we were intending of only being in the park for, well, literally till just after lunchtime. And this was another reason for trying Genie Plus like this, because everyone does parks differently, but it seems to be it is geared up for people that want to stay in the parks all
day.
day.
We don't.
Now, we thought, well, okay, we can use Genie Plus because we're staying at Beach Club. We could go to Hollywood Studios or Epcot. So we had a look as we left, and there was a rock and roller coaster for, I think it was $5.50 or something like that. We thought, great, that's a bit early because
no, originally it was about 4, but
was it about 4 o'clock?
We
were still in the park.
Yeah.
4. We thought, you know what, that's just a bit too early. Let's check it a little bit later. And we did book one, didn't we, for just before 6. But then it felt, because our day and our plans changed, it felt we were almost like clock watching again, and we thought, no, we're going to cancel it.
We didn't really want to go out, did we? It was our last evening. We just wanted a relaxed evening.
So I could see it working if you want to park hop, and this was something, I say, chatting with other families out there. Unlike Disneyland with the Max Pass, you can choose the time. So say, for example, the earliest was 4:30, it then gives you the option for 5.
So a bit like, you know,
6.
when you book a dining reservation and you get your choices come up, or the old fast passes, it doesn't, it just gives you a time.
But that can also get earlier that time as well, because as the ride eases up, it comes sooner. But in California on the Max Pass, you can choose a time. So if you want it an hour and a half later and it's available, you can book it.
Or if you want it later on in the evening.
Yeah, so if you knew you were going into a park that night, you could choose to do that.
We will try it again on a less busy day.
Yep.
And see how it goes. But
I can see how it works, and it does have potential, but I think for what it is, I think fast passes were a much better way.
We missed them a lot.
Yeah, and if you worked your fast passes well, you could do them at times that didn't mean you were having to spend all day in a park if you didn't want to.
Which is what we like to
Whereas
do.
this one, if you want to go on things, use Genie Plus, you've got to be there all day, I think.
Food, and then I think we're done. Disney transport. I wrote Disney, but to be honest, we used a few buses and they were okay. There wasn't really anything to discuss in the end.
No, it's the first time we've really used it properly. It's sometimes good, sometimes we had to wait a while.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Food. Where should we start with food?
Bad first?
What, and finish on a good? Go on then.
Our experience of Steakhouse 71, what a waste of time.
It was just, we've completely vlogged it, so you'll get to see that.
Yeah, you'll get to see that, so watch this space for that one. But basically, it was more about, should we say, poor service than anything else. It was terrible, but consistent poor service as well.
But on a high note, we ate at Space 220 and we cannot fault that at all. We had a really good experience.
Yeah, both food and service was lovely.
The one thing that we noticed is that table service restaurants do not seem to be filled to capacity. We ate at Ohana, Steak 71, Space 220, Via Napoli. There are loads and loads of empty tables everywhere. Obviously they're not wanting to put too many people into a small confined space at one time, so that is quite nice. You feel like you have space when you're in a restaurant. So although restaurant reservations may be trickier to get at the moment, if you do get them, you do feel very safe when you're eating.
And I think this trip as well, we had decided to do a few more table service as well, intentionally to kind of to do a bit of a comparison. Some places we'd eaten at, some we hadn't. So I think one we'd eaten at, the rest we hadn't. Well, they were new experiences.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think we deliberately kind of did that just to experience it all.
Ohana was good, and Via Napoli we loved.
Loved Via Napoli, definitely be going back to Via Napoli. So,
but they're all vlogged, so you'll get to see those. Let us know if you've eaten at any of those. Have you eaten at Steak 71 and had an amazing experience? Did you also find the menu very limited as well? Did you also get asked to leave? Sorry. And have you eaten at Space 220? That would be quite nice. I'd like to hear your sort of comments and things, so leave your comments below.
And on the flip side, we did do a few quick serves and can't fault those either in Contemporary, Grand Floridian.
You do need your phones though.
And Beach Club as well. So
mobile service for a lot of them. It's not for the non-Disney restaurants like Starbucks, Joffrey's, those kind of things, Blaze. It's as normal. But for a lot of the Disney quick serves now,
Gasparilla's.
Yeah, there's not a lot of food out on display even. No. You can't just go and pick a sandwich, for example, because there aren't any. You need to be having the menu on your phone and ordering online. And when you go to restaurants, it's all scanning a QR code to bring the menu up. You did go and ask a couple of places for a menu, didn't you?
And they did provide them. I'm not saying they're going to provide in all of them, but they do seem to have menus if you do ask, or they seem to be.
We did find it quite tricky sometimes looking on your phone.
Yeah, there's something about it. There's something about looking at a menu.
It feels antisocial having your phone out on the table as well.
Yeah, and having to mobile order even at all the quick servers was.
And
all
it wasn't
a bit...
always easy because the Wi-Fi was a bit dodgy. One time we ordered with friends, they got their food, and you were thinking, why hasn't our food come? And then you looked at your phone, you realised you hadn't clicked confirm.
Yeah, it wasn't confirmed. It wasn't totally clear that I'd actually have to click. I thought it was getting ready kind of thing, but it wasn't. So
we had to still wait.
Now I can see the benefit of the quick serve, of the mobile ordering, because for the quick serves, it could be you're on your way, so you don't actually have to.
In the parks, it's really good. We've done it before.
So you don't have to wait. So you know you're going to be there, and it'll tell you, or you'll say, "I'm on my way now," or "I'm there." So it's brilliant for that. But I think when you're kind of just going in and you know it's not busy.
And it's like when we were in the Contemporary and it was our first night, you just kind of want to look at a sandwich or look what there is.
I would say in Beach Club though, it was all out, wasn't it?
No, not the. That was all like board, had covers over things. You looked on a.
Yeah, but we picked our salad and our sandwich out.
that was like in a fridge. That was a bit different.
Yeah, no, but in Contempo.
Yeah, that's true. There was nothing.
But in Contempo, there was nothing.
That's true.
There was nothing in there. There was just a drinks fridge.
There's a few cakes.
Even if you wanted a salad, we had to go and do a mobile order.
Yeah, that's true. So it does seem to vary. And like I said, Starbucks and Joffrey's, they're all as normal, but they're not part of Disney, so they're different.
So that's kind of a bit of a high level of our. A bit of a review. It's kind of jumped around a little bit. We might have answered some questions, covered some things. Hopefully all the pieces will be filled in on the future vlogs.
We just wanted to kind of do it just in case you've got trips coming up soon. It might then, rather than wait for all the vlogs, we just thought we'd try and answer some questions now.
Please feel free to ask questions either here or on our Instagram, adeandlisadodisney. Drop us a message. We'll be happy to answer. We're here to try and help others, share our experience, but also we're here to learn from.
I was going to say we're not experts at all. We're always learning.
Just for what we know. I was even asking earlier because someone Orlando Wiley's stayed at Caribbean Beach, and we've got family staying there.
In October.
So we just were asking about the whole transport thing there. So yeah, we're here to learn. But any questions, please, don't hesitate to ask.
I've got the High School Musical song now. We're all in this together in my head. Is
that going to be the closing music? What, for a few seconds?
I don't think so. Yes, any questions, let us know. Any comments or anything, if there's anything you think that you can actually leave a comment to help us or anybody else, please do so. That would be really nice. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the next video will hopefully be...
Travel day.
Travel day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.